Hello friends and welcome to the channel. If you're new here, I'm Rebecca Reel and today I'm going to show you how to knit the Ruby Pullover pattern. It is a raglan sweater knit bottom up, which is unconventional for a raglan sweater, but when we knit on a knitting machine, things have to be a little different. So I actually use a Brother KX350 for this pattern, but it can really be adapted to any knitting machine. So let's grab our yarn and our supplies and get started. We're going to start by casting on our stitches. I prefer to use an E-wrap cast on for this specific knit. Then we're going to set our tension dial to 7 and our row counter to 0, and we're going to knit 16 rows. Now we're going to move every third stitch into position E, and we're going to drop these stitches all the way down until you reach the little loop that you created with your E-wrap cast on. Make sure you don't unravel that loop because it's a real pain in the butt to fix. So now you're going to insert your latch hook facing you, and you're going to pick up all of the bars that you've dropped. And what this is going to do is it's going to create a ribbing effect. So essentially we're flipping these stitches from knit stitches on the right side into purl stitches. So they're going to look like knit stitches to us because we're looking at the pattern on the wrong side. And you're going to continue and repeat this for every single little stitch that you put into position E. Now we're going to set our tension dial to 7.5 and our row counter to 0. We're going to knit 66 rows, and every pattern has a different amount of decreases that they need to do. So follow the pattern instructions on the actual PDF to get your correct amount of decreases for your size. Now we're going to add our stitch markers, and this will indicate where our armhole starts and stops. Knit 2 rows. And we're going to decrease 1 stitch on both sides. And then we're going to do the cabling technique. To do this, we need to switch the 2 stitches next to the decrease with the 1 stitch next to those first 2 stitches. So essentially you're going to take 1 stitch, move it in front of the other 2 stitches, and move those 2 stitches next to the decrease inwards 1. And we're going to do this for a total of 20 repeats, so that's only 19 more repeats. And here's just an iteration again of the cabling technique after you do the decrease. Now we're going to set our row counter to 0 and our carriage to the hold setting. Move all your center stitches into position E, and then move all the stitches to the left of those into position E. Okay, we knit 1 and then we wrapped our yarn around the middle stitch. Now we're going to knit another row, and now we're going to put 1 stitch on hold and decrease 1 on the edge of the pattern. We do the cabling technique that we learned in the previous step right after the decrease. Okay, and now we're going to repeat this step Once you have 3 or fewer stitches remaining to be decreased, I stopped doing the decreases, but I kept putting the stitches on hold. So what that effectively does is it stops the triangle on the outer edge from forming, but allows the neck shaping to continue. And then we're just going to repeat all of the steps we did before, but we're going to do it on the other side. Just make sure you put those needles back into work and keep the center stitches on hold. And now we are going to cast off with waste yarn. And every step that we did on the front panel, we're going to repeat on the back panel, and that includes casting on from the beginning and all of that. If you buy the pattern, there's some slight variation in the back panel neck shaping. The only change is that it's a bit wider and a bit shallower. The front is a bit narrower and deeper, and that just allows it to sit more comfortably around your neck. So now we're going to cast on 22 stitches for extra small through medium, or 26 stitches for a large through 2XL with waste yarn. Unfortunately, I forgot to film this part. So after you cast on with waste yarn, you're going to knit 6 rows, and then you're going to start working with your project yarn. And what you're going to do is every 2 rows you knit, you're going to increase 1 on both sides. And then we're going to repeat that pattern of knitting 2 rows and then increase 1 on both sides for a total of 23 times. Then you knit 10 more rows just as normal and add a stitch marker. Again, I forgot to add a stitch marker. I unfortunately forgot a lot of steps on this sleeve. Thankfully, it all worked out because I was able to visualize it, and I did fine on the other sleeve that I didn't record, ironically, so sorry about that. Okay, and we're going to knit until our row counter equals 150, so it's quite a journey. And now we're going to decrease 9 stitches for extra small through medium, or 11 stitches for large through 2XL. What we're going to do is we're going to skip 6 and decrease 1. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Make sure you move all your stitches inwards so there are no gaps in the needles, and then you're going to knit 2 rows and repeat. You're going to decrease 9 for extra small through medium, or 11 through large through 2XL. But this time you're going to do it by skipping 5 and decreasing 1. So you should end up with 50 stitches on your needles. For this next step, best practice is to cast off with waste yarn and then pick up all your stitches. Again, like I said, I forgot a lot of things on this sleeve. I forgot to do that step. So yeah. So we're gonna set our row counter to 0 and our tension dial to 6. Knit 10 rows and then set our tension dial to 7.5. Knit 1 row. Then set your tension dial to 6 and knit 10 more rows. And then we're going to move every 3rd stitch into position E and drop all of the stitches. And this is where I realized I forgot to add the waste yarn, and I panicked a little bit.
What the?
And then we are going to knit back up as we did on the cast on ribbing. The next step is we're going to fold the ribbing over. If you had cast off with waist yarn, what you would do is find the stitch in between the waist yarn and the one that you started knitting up with, essentially the beginning, the very first stitch of your ribbing, and you want to put this on the needle with the last stitch of your ribbing so that it folds over, it makes it nice and chunky, and it also makes it very stretchy. And then we're going to cast off using a nylon cord. You can use your regular yarn for this too. The nylon cord just makes it last longer and it makes it very, very stretchy. I definitely recommend at least using the nylon cord for the neckline. Then we're going to pick up stitches around the collar. So what this means is we're going to put all of our panels and our sleeves back onto the machine, but you want to alternate them. So you're going to start with the front body panel, then the sleeve, then the back body panel, and then the other sleeve. Set your tension dial to 5.5 and knit 12 rows. And then we're going to drop every third stitch and knit back up to create a ribbing. Same step as before, we are going to fold over the ribbing and cast off the nylon cord. And now for the very fun part. We get to remove all of the waste yarn and seam everything together. And congratulations, you have a lovely finished ruby pullover. Thanks for joining me and watching this knitting tutorial. I hope you guys really liked it. I enjoyed it. Raglan sweater design is a little more tricky for me than like regular drop shoulder knitting designs, so I'm extremely happy with how it turned out. I think it fits really nicely and it drapes great, so I am super happy about it. I hope you guys enjoyed it as well. If you did, go ahead and leave a comment, like, and subscribe. And if you're interested, go ahead and check out my Etsy shop where you can find patterns like these and very similar ones. So, thank you. I'll see y'all next time. Bye!